Hello, it's Andrew aka Uberdude here again. I'm going to be reviewing my third game on the Fox Go server using Leela 0. So this game I won fairly smoothly, but even so there were still some quite interesting moments in it which were instructive to review with AI for both of us. So in this game I was white and my opponent opened with a 5-4 point. Um, so if we look on the Leela 0 opening gospel, that says open at 4-4 or 4-3 points. Bots don't really like these high moves like 5-4, 5-3, and if you review basically, unless there's something sensei urgent going on, then they'll generally say that black should close the corner and white should invade the corner. For if you're not doing that in the opening, that's always basically a very big and important point. Because if they see it as a mistake to play looser on the corner, then they want to fix that for black to close the corner, or for white they want to go in to punish black from playing the high move. But I don't go in yet because it's still an empty corner, so I take the empty corner. So if we have a look, what move at k17, which my opponent did play, wants to close the corner and make a Shamari. Now it's going to end up as one of the smaller Shamaris instead of the big ones they like, but still better to make a Shamari than to play some move on the side. And so then, so he plays the extension on the top side. And the two normal ways to deal with a 5-4 point are to go in at the 3-4 point or at the 3-3 point. Now, the advantage of the 3-3 point here is it makes the K17 stone end up in a bit of a bad place, because the normal josekis following the 3-3 point will see white undermining that stone and taking away the territory on the top side, which that stone was trying to build. So it's making black's previous moves less efficient. So I said if I take the 3-4 point, then black can attach here. And yeah, Leela 0 agrees that attach, Arne, pull back, and then there's a few choices for white. You've got the solid hanging connection, or one of these jumps to be a bit speedier. But in all of these variations, black's K17 stone ends up looking fairly sensible as an extension on the top side. And you're trying to make your opponent's moves look bad instead of look good. So that's really the root of why much and that you should play corners first, is because the side moves can end up being misplaced, whereas the corner moves are a lot harder to end up being misplaced. And this also you can think of with the 3-3 invasion, is that if you 3-3 invade, your moves are going to be, locally perfectly good moves. Maybe you'll give your opponent a wall which later you'll think, oh, I wish I didn't give them a wall in that direction. But you're never going to have bad local efficiency from playing something like a 3-3 invasion of a 4-4 point. So I come in here. So just if black really wanted to keep the top side, but Leela 0 is not going to like it yet, so it still wants to play the normal moves. But if you wanted to keep the top side of some territory, you'd have to play some kind of move like this. And then, maybe black's trying to build this top area. Locally in this corner, black's played not really a joseki. This is good for white. Black doesn't really want to go like this. But it's so big, it's potential that white needs to worry about yet. So I played the attachment rather than perhaps the more normal pushing into the knight move, because I thought it was ended up making a bad exchange. So I played this, black Harnate, and then I played here expecting black to block, which if he does, just show the normal joseki. So a key point here is don't play the Ataris, just directly play this second line Hane is a good technique. If black connects, white extends out, and we can see that this K17 stone is looking a bit of a strange place. Imagine black hadn't played there and it was black to play. Black wouldn't play some move there, he might play an approach here, he might cover here, but this is not really in a good relationship with the stones from the joseki being played here. So the don't Atari is because it makes black stronger. So let's just have a look. If you Atari, you can see black's already up to 53, so this was a big reversal. Like if you could then Atari this side and capture, maybe it wouldn't be too bad to Atari. But if you're going to play like this, then let's say we have this kind of position. Then this, you didn't play the Atari. When white plays here, black could, instead of solid connecting, extend here. And now if white crawls, black's going to extend. Well, here actually black can high, but let's just say black extends. Then for the sake of the argument, white doesn't want to play the Atari from this direction. Maybe white wants to play the Atari from this direction. Because if you play it from here, we can kind of see that black's got a bit of this ugly shape. This G17 stone's become an empty triangle. And later on, white can potentially save this cutting stone. Yeah, you can see like this move is saying, I'm threatening to save the cutting stone and I want you to spend a move to fix it. And then I got a move in sente on the side. So this is why you can just directly play the second line Hane. So it's a good technique. Okay, so back to the game. I played this pushing into the knight's move, and yeah, Leela Zero has taught me here that black should play this Atari, even though I break black's shape and split out here. It's still good for white, but not as good as it could have been. So black's 37% here. So if black pulls back, white's split black's shape, but black's Atari has made black quite strong here. If we compare this, so this is basically a bit like a sort of Tawari type argument. If white plays here directly, then if black, well actually it says here black can pull back, probably that's using the support of this stone. But if black blocks, and then white plays here, then it's going to become like we saw before. But if black does a similar, I want to go this way, and the white can come out, then although black's got this two-stone wall, black's only 23 instead of 35% or whatever we had before. And we can understand this as being, with the Atari, black got quite a strong eye shape on the top side. Now, these two stones are still quite nice, but they don't have as rich eye shape as if you've got the Atari shape. So white is happier to be splitting black without actually giving the E17 exchange. But what I did is I did this, and it ended up with him, instead of blocking, he pulled back. And I was thinking, should I Hane first or push to make the weaknesses? Leela said both fine, so let's don't worry about that. So I push, and then I Hane, black Ataris, and then capture. So here, I was wondering, should I cut, which I did in the game, or should I just directly cut here? And this was quite interesting. So let me just move the game line to be first, so that the sorry, this was right. So yeah, if I do this, Leela Zero wants to go for a trade, and actually we can see here, although white captures two stones, black gets a Panuki on either side. So it feels this is okay for, well, the best of a bad job for black. So I cut. Now here, if black connects, white gets another Atari here, not necessarily now, but later. So to resist that, black captured, white Atari, there's no co-threat, so black can't really fight this co, so this is just a nice sente exchange to reduce black's eye shape. And then it actually said I could cut this side as well. But the real reason why I could have cut that side as well is because black's solid connection, which was also my feeling, is actually bad. It would be better for black to extend here. And this is all about getting the value out of the C15 stone, because it's pushing white's liberties. You know, black can Hane here now, and white either has to deal with the threat of these two stones being captured either by coming back here, or we can see a bit better to Hane on the second line. But black's pushing the advantage of the liberty shortage of white. When black goes here, this no-be out for white is just so pleasing shape. This kind of poking out when you've got all these three liberties is very, very nice from the point of view of shape and liberties. And yeah. Now here, we both, for a few moves, missed the importance of this area for black to press, to basically extend these stones in a more efficient way, dealing with bad agi of these. So the kind of move I used to play is I might play something like this for black, which is very solid, but it's too slow, or some kind of move like this. So what this move is saying, well, the first thing is it's threatening. Let's say white does something else. Then when you block, white can't push and cut because white's going to run out of liberties and just die. So you're using, again, that c15 agi. And if white does some kind of crawling stuff, then now, even if white does save these stones and let's say black answers here, then already these 4 stones have got some helpers to help with this fight. So black's saying, you can connect the cutting stone, but I'm happy to fight once I've got already some extra help for the stones that you're going to cut. But of course, sometimes this kind of defensive move is the honte, is the right move. But yeah, here we can see Leela Zero there teaching us that was the vital point for black. But instead, black approached on the top side, and I was wondering, should I answer with the knight move, which I did, or play some other opening move? And it was fine, but it's also looking at moves over in this area. We can see this blue move here, this turn, is actually quite interesting. I'll speak about that in a little bit. So I answered, and black, again, missed the stones on the left. Instead, black made the jump. I took my cheeky little sente, which is just a normal exchange. Now that black spent a move here, I'm saying I don't want to go in there. And then, yeah, so I was thinking, should I activate 2 stones and fight, or should I reduce from the outside? So let's see, actually, 83% is not terrible, but Leela Zero does definitely like this area. Now, actually, my move of the local ones is the worst, because it leaves some quite bad cutting points, which black actually used later in the game. So a move that I might have thought about was this Kasumi or this knight's move. So we can see both of these are also good. But the best move, which was quite interesting, which, because I actually analysed this game a bit before, you can see it's already got 1,000 playouts. It took a while for Leela Zero to find it. Katago agrees that this move is the best one. It's really pushing the black liberty shortage. So we can see this Hane, and if black Hanes, white cuts. And this is really squeezing the liberties of these stones. White doesn't need to save this stone now. Maybe he could. You see, it's not necessarily bad to. But even just going like this, you know, if black defends with something like this is too soft. White's just happy to give up this stone, get these sente moves, and this left-hand side is growing very nicely. And there's still the agi of this stone, so black still got some problems. But I played the knight's move. Yeah, you even now just immediately start looking at the cutting points, activating that. So then I thought, yeah, should I play this one? So this was better than, well, maybe not. Yeah, better than the solid connection, but also this Kasumi is an interesting way to run. So this is activating the cutting stone. So the key point here is this F16 stone is the important cutting stone because it's cutting these stones. This one is the less important stone. So rather than playing this and letting black jump ahead with 2, because they're saying play the Kasumi, because then you're getting out this direction a little bit faster. So that's a nice idea. But I played solid connect. Black jumps, as expected. This was good. And then, yeah, here I made a fighting shape mistake as well. So I just jumped. And this is, it's just making black's shape. Instead of connecting with some second line territory with stones on third line, I'm forcing black down to second line connection with all sorts of problems. So I mean, just the simple one would be to pull back here, or we can play this kind of fancy Hane. And you can see black's being forced down to the second line with some weak connections. So white is getting a little bit of extra strength by exploiting black's weaknesses then. And I played here, so black got the vital point. And then I push. Literally, as it says, yeah, fine. This move was a bad exchange for black, because if you see, maybe not yet, but there's potential for a wedge making 2 cutting points. For example, if black jumps here, then maybe then the wedge could become important. So this was a thank you move from black. And then he jumped here. Yeah, so here was I was regretting a little bit about pulling these stones out, feeling, or maybe I got a bit heavy. Maybe my group's weaker than Black's group. Have I done something wrong here? It's still okay for me. So, and this attachment, second best move, says this Kasumi is quite. My big fighting mistake here actually was after this. Was this extension is bad shape, because then Black played the 2 that we see here, which is the vital point of my shape to make. Basically, this is making this continuing a cut. So this Hane is quite nice. So the idea of this is if Black goes underneath, that's already a nice exchange because Black's played under, so I'm pushing Black down. If Black fights back with cut, I don't need to save this stone, but I play 1 Atari, and then thanks to that 1 Atari, now I come out to the centre, you can see here, a bit faster. Rather than playing the extension, I'm basically playing a Hane, and I've defended this cutting point thanks to this. And so White's running out to the centre one line faster, and this kind of running fight, getting your head out in front of the opponent as you run, is very valuable. So that was my shape mistake here. And Black went here. So I don't want to just, for example, solidly connect. So I cut Pete here or something first is a bit cleverer. Or Black should have played this Atari. And Leela Zero agrees. But instead he played this Atari, which just basically helps. The key thing is it's damaging this stone, and he still needs to get this group out of this gap. So he pushed from behind, and I just defended. These are all just helping me. You can see Black's win rate's going down, keep pushing. And then he ran out the cutting stone. So I was a bit surprised that Leela Zero sort of considered this as its, well, you can see it's blue move now, so it's kind of the instinct of Leela Zero, but then with more reading, it's deciding maybe this peeping move over here is better. But the way it uses it is not how my opponent used it. He wanted to actually save the cutting stone. Here we can see Leela Zero is just trying to annoy White into please White, just capture 1 stone in a bit of a pathetic way. And it's not even an eye. If Black saves this stone later, it's a false eye. And Black's got a stone here in the centre, which is kind of useful for running this group here, splitting this group from this side. So this is, sometimes you want to save cutting stones if they are, splitting groups which are weak, which you can profitably attack. But also sometimes you can just try to force your opponent to connect on Dame and not get an efficient shape. So that's what this move is doing. In the game, I played this attachment, which actually I think is not the best move. Maybe I should play something like this. But you can again here see, so Black's move I think isn't so bad to keep fighting. But if Black plays the Hane, White can capture the cutting stone, and obviously Black can't connect. But that's still fine for Black, because Black can get this nice Atari, which, if White captures, Black gets a Panuki. That's quite nice for Black. If White connects, it's a bit of an ugly empty triangle, and then we can see Black still doesn't connect, but Black can go here, and again, Black's trying to say, White, go on, set 1 point with it. And White doesn't want to do that. White wants to resist by cutting here, or cutting here. So there's always this, and then resisting the connecting on Dame to try to answer in a more efficient manner. But what happened was Black wanted to actually save the cutting stones. And then here I've got this cutting point. So this is where I thought for a while, actually trying to work out the best way to. And yeah, it says I picked the wrong one, but they're all fairly close. So Leela Zero prefers this one. We can see that one advantage of this one is if Black, for example, jumps here, then when White plays this knight's move, then this cutting point is already defended thanks to the way of defending here. So that's a nice little bonus. It also, White's probably going to save these stones, but just later, White can cover this line, join up the stones, which is another advantage of this move. The move I picked here pokes a little bit more into Black's weaknesses here, and we can see a bit later actually a way that could be used. Black took this peep, but now Black needs to save these stones. You can see Leela Zero says, yeah, 1-point jump. But black played this, but this move just is no good because there's a net. And actually, it was funny, when I first analysed this, Leela 0 took a while to find the net, but we can see, yeah, now with 1,000 playouts, it can see the net, and it can see that black's going to be captured. So, yeah, basically once I've done that, the game is kind of over, though second game I was also winning with the game over, but I managed to lose that. But this one I managed to hold on to the win. So just a few more interesting things. So here, when black pushed, rather than blocking, just fall back. Yeah. So yeah, that's a long way behind now. And this harnais here, yeah, like this cut just gets captured. So this is just nonsense for black. So we had a bunch more fighting across the rest of the board, and blah blah blah. But yeah, one interesting moment was, where was it? It was when black played this slide. So yeah, so here I was thinking, should I answer the corner, should I answer the side, or tanuki like I did in the game? When you're so far ahead, it's kind of Leela 0. Basically, many moves are good, and it's hard to distinguish. But one thing I was talking about was if I block here, trying to build this area, the same, that goes in the corner, then I don't want to cover here because these are still just reducing me, and I'm getting a little bit here. There was a nice sequence here which Leela 0 showed me, which is this heat here, which is using this M15 stone. If black connects, white connects, black can connect under, and now white has this wedging in move, cutting the 1-point jump. And if whichever side black connects, white cuts the other one. So white now would actually use this stone to build a very big area. And this is something you can actually, this is kind of a bonus of this exchange, is it's generating this weakness. And you can't use this weakness unless there's extra white support around here. So this is a way of showing it. And black can also, for example, play here, which defends the weakness in Sente. Now, let's just say white defends, then black can come back here. And this, there's no cut, but this exchange loses a lot in the corner, so generally white doesn't mind too much. So just to kind of give an example of what it loses in the corner, black can just forget about Sente stuff over here, black can jump in here and save the stone back here. So black's lost this kind of thing, which is pretty big for points. It makes an eye or maybe two for black, and also it takes away some of the eyes for white, because, for example, let's say white does something over here, and now if black plays a move around this area, maybe white's under some attack. Now here, this was, if black played this on this game, probably I could tanuki, and if black takes one stone, I just play here and start killing these stones. So here it's not really possible for black, but just as a little shape lesson, that was an interesting thing I found there. Okay, so that's the end of this review. Thanks for watching.